Hey tubers, welcome back for another adventure. Yeah, I bought another one. So you guys could see it is a Honda ATC200M. And if we zoom in really carefully here, you could see it's a 1985 model. I gave the guy $150 for this. It was on Marketplace, and it had been on Marketplace for a little while. And then, I pinged him, and it took him like a week or so to get to me. And he said, working my way down the list, and all these people said they were coming and they didn't come, and all these people wanted to give me $25 for it. I don't want to take $25 for it. So if you're serious, right? So we went back and forth, and finally we connected. I went out and picked it up. Marketplace, Craigslist, Let It Go, Offer Up, all that stuff. It's tough. You're dealing with a lot of people who have bigger eyes than wallets, it seems. Anyway, I bought it for parts, right? $150 parts. Did I get $150 worth of parts? Let's start doing an inventory. So it's got, what is that, Changshing tires on it, on wheels with tubes, hubs, the whole shooting match. Believe it or not, I think those are a major part of the $150. The tires will cost you at least $50. The tubes will cost you another $20. That's a pair of 70s. They're already mounted on wheels, and you got the hubs. So these are probably worth the major part of $150. The rear end seems to turn. It's got doesn't seem to have any play. So the rear end has another piece of value. It does have all four bolts on it. They don't appear to be broken. Coming up alongside of it, the engine is here. The shifter is not welded. This peg and the other peg are not bent back. And the front bar is not all dented up. So I think this was kind of pretty well cared for. It still has the dust boot over the timing chain adjuster. He told me it was kept inside. He got it, and it was in a covered shed for a while. Then it was outside with the tarp on it. Then the tarp blew away, and it was exposed for a short period of time. He said he bought it seized, and he does not know why it's seized. If you look on top here, you see the acorn nuts, and then you see these. So somebody was at some point fooling around up on top there. The forks, if you look at the forks, they're like from a, I don't know, 110, 125, something like that. Still has the, what is that? Want you lost tires on it, right? FR want you less. So this is this tire is probably back from the 80s. No, it does not hold air. And quite honestly, I wouldn't expect it to. It's interesting that he did get these bars on here, and the reason why I find it interesting, it's almost like you could cut it off where it's straight, extend them, or perhaps cob yourself a set of shocks on it, right? Something with shocks. So I am kind of making note that it fits, and it seems to be on there properly, right? It's not clicking and clacking. It seems to turn pretty easily. So that's all good stuff. The wire harness, dashboard, handlebars missing, throttle missing, throttle slide is missing out of there. It does seem to have a brake handle that's complete with the hardware plus the lock. I mean, that's another something you don't normally find. Other than the switches and headlights, it appears as if the wire harness is intact, in pretty good shape. It's got the round plug, gives you a little hotter spark. The smaller, this combo, round plug and smaller coil, I found that gives you a little hotter spark if you're sticking with the OEM ignition. The starter is here. Really, the thing looks like it's in pretty decent shape. He told me it was seized, and he did not go through the trouble of figuring out why. I don't know if the air cleaner was on it, and at some point, you know, the mice moved in, and then corrosion and all that. If you're looking at the exhaust, right, it's got all the guards on it. It really doesn't have any corrosion. It's been a while. Still has that guard. It's been a while since I've seen an exhaust that clean. The brakes are adjusted almost to the end, so I assume the back brakes are useless. But with the wiring and all, it's got a lot of good stuff. Let's take a moment and see if we can unseize it. I have a little trick for that. So you can see I've put my medium length screwdriver into it, and if you now pay attention, I think you guys can see the slightest of movement there. So I'm going to pull the plug. We're going to hit it with a little oil and see if we can't free it up. If this engine comes to life, I'm talking home run city with this machine. I've done very well. So I'm attempting to get the plug out of it, and quite honestly, it is stiff. So one has to play the game where you kind of take it out a little bit, spray the blaster on it, go back in, come back out a little bit, spray the blaster on it, and go back in. If I had to guess, I got corrosion in there, and you know, maybe I'll be able to save the head, the intake manifold, maybe the starter. The boot is torn on the starter. That's normally not a good sign. That means they might have put a lot of juice to the starter and cooked it, but we're giving it a shot, right? Right now, I kind of got my money back on the tires, rear end, and exhaust system, but anything out of this engine will be a bonus. So I gave it a spray and I leaned on it pretty good, and I'm getting the slightest little bit of movement. I'm going to take off the carb and the exhaust and spray the valves, and who knows? Is Harvey lucky? So check this out. Got my nice solid steel bar here, and we have some movement. I can't go completely around, but you guys could see I'm getting something out of it. If I had to guess, there's a rusty, sorry about the camera work, there's a rusty ridge somewhere up here that needs to be cleaned away, and this thing will turn over. I pulled the starter off of it, and the starter isn't turning either. And the problem you have when that's true, you can kind of turn it one way until you hit the blockage, and you can't turn back because it won't let you go backwards with the C starter, right? So I'm going to give a few minutes to the starter, see if we can't bring that back to life, and I'm probably going to have to pull the engine and pull the head to continue getting that loosened up. Though I did spray it, and who knows, maybe it'll come loose on its own. So here's the starter. Cracked it open. You can see the rust isn't too bad. We'll give it a quick clean up, put it back together again, and test it. It's a little heavier here. That's probably what held it up. Anyway, clean it up. A little sandpaper does it beautifully. In and out. Put it back together again. The starter will be back to life. On this thing, I've sprayed the heck out of it. I'm going to get the plug back in there and let it down. Let it just sit. Hopefully things loosen up a little bit. The starter is cleaned up. Put it back together again, and remember with these things, don't wind them up all the way. You could throw windings and break things. So just a quick, little whip, and life is good. I love it. So far, I got tires, a back axle, an exhaust system, and a starter. All we need to do is get this engine running, and I have me a home run. So once I saw a little bit of movement here, I started to work this, and I very quickly discovered that I had more than a little bit. It seems that it only locks up when the piston gets all the way to the top. So I'm going to have to pull the engine off and see what's going on inside. So now that this engine has potential, I was like the Tasmanian devil, spraying bolts and intersections and all that, and suddenly things started to come loose. I'm like, whoa, nothing broke, right? Exhaust manifold, including the plastic, complete muffler, including the spark arrestor. Couldn't be any happier. Carburetor came right off, right? Let's get that engine inside, see if it has any life left. We'll pull the head off, and let's hope for the best. I removed the engine from the frame. Everything came off beautifully, including the exhaust system. So here we are, and what I want to do is see what kind of shape we're in up on top here, if this engine is savable or is it just going to be parts. So what I'm going to do is, let's start right up here on top, see what's going on with the CDI. So this is the CDI trigger right here, pulse generator, and this is the advancer. The faster your motor goes, the more up front this goes, which makes your timing more advanced, and as you go to an idle, it goes back to its retarded position, and that's what sets your no advance to start, and as your RPMs increase to get some performance, it advances. Anyway, you notice this is flippy floppy loose. That means the springs are no good, right? So you could buy this springs for this, but it's nice that it's all here and intact. I already put the ohm meter across it. It came in about 35 ohms, so I know the pulse generator is good. It's just the springs on the advancer are no good. By the way, if you find yourself in that situation and you cannot get the springs, just lock it in place. Take some wire and lock it in place in the non-advanced state, and you should be able to start it and run it. You won't have as much top-end performance, but once again, move to the non-advanced state. And by the way, when it's like this, it has a tendency to stay in the advanced state, which means when you go to pull it over with the recoil, it'll bite back pretty good. It'll tear the rope right out of your hands. Just that little bit extra advanced. Anyway, what's next is I got to get these bolts off and all. We got to get this off, and we're working our way to pulling the head. I took the bolt out of the center here. This comes off. Took this out. That allows this all to come loose. And you could see by the amount of corrosion in there, water got in there, and you could see you got a little crack there. And if you take this out, you could see that this finger's broken off. So yeah, I gotta take that out. Hopefully it's not seized on there, right? This is supposed to be able to slide. Somebody was monkeying around in here. You could tell by the debris and so forth. Once again, you could also see the spring is hanging. I think you guys, right there you go. See the spring's broken off right there. So anyway, let me get the rest of this out. Well, we exposed the timing chain. Let me just show you a little something here. This timing chain is like crazy loose. That's really not a good thing. Makes you wonder if this thing didn't jump time, or I'm seeing some indication that somebody was in there. I got some like red death down here and all. So somebody might have just put it together wrong. Here's hoping for the best. So it takes 8 bolts to get the skull cap loose, right? The 4 outer hexes. And then these bolts here actually torque down the head, right? This acorn came out with the locator. A lot of times there's washers on these. This one has one. A couple of them. So I got to get this bolt out. Then we actually the skull cap will come off at this point. Looks clean up top, right? There's no ridges on the cam. That's all nice. So I got to get that bolt off. Then we could slip the cam out. And once we slip the cam, well, I could probably tilt and slip the cam. Be careful not to drop that little pin into the engine. That's real poor form. I think the pin is like $7 or $10 delivered, plus having that pin floating around in your engine isn't a good thing. So anyway, I'm going to slip the timing chain. I'm going to put a wire through it first so it doesn't fall in. Then I think we could get the head off. Oh, I got this bolt here. Then we could get the head off, and we'll know all the mysteries this thing has to tell. Okay, we're almost ready to pull the head out. You got to take this bolt out, otherwise the chain adjuster kind of hangs you up. You got to get this bolt out, and I'm probably going to have to pry on it a little bit. I put a wire on the chain so it doesn't disappear forever, and we're just going to lift the head right off. Fingers crossed. So the head is off, and I mean there's a little rust there, but it actually looks pretty good. They had some interesting stuff going on with the head gasket here. This is all smashed flat, so it appears to have had a blown head gasket. I had trouble getting this side off, and you guys could see it's got liquid in here and some corrosion or something going on there. Anyway, let's get this cleaned up a little bit, see if it's savable. So, blown head gasket. You guys could see I don't think this bore is savable. It's pretty ragged. You can see the mud and so forth that was in here. I think the piston might be savable. I think the head might be savable, but I think this bore is dead. Don't worry, Harvey has another one. With the Red Death and the way that gasket is, you guys could see somebody's obviously been up on top here, right? Somebody's fooled around with this. Will this engine ever run again? To be honest, at this moment, I don't exactly know. I did check it. It does seem to shift, so it is worth putting some time into it. This thing has the up shift pattern. For an 84 flagged as an 85, I think it could kind of go either way with the shift pattern. Probably up, though. Up shift pattern means when you lift your toe up, it goes into first, second, third, and as you tap it down, you bring the gears lower. Anyhow, I'm going to end this video here. This is getting kind of long. And just so you guys could see what I have, hopefully we'll be able to save it. I really like the 200M engine for the following reasons. It has a recoil and an electric starter. It's able to charge a battery. So this is a great thing to put on something like a golf cart where the rear end gives you forward and reverse, and then you have a 5-speed. So you can run it through the 5 gears in forward or reverse, right? Just chain drive it to where the torque converter would go into the rear end. So there you go. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. For those of you who are going to give me a lecture, you probably already stopped watching, but let me go with it anyway. This all-terrain vehicle was up on Marketplace for over a week before I asked about it. I made him an offer of $150, and it took him another couple weeks to get back to me. So this whole deal has been going on for 3 weeks. If somebody had wanted it and offered more than $150 and showed up with a truck and the money, they would have got it. They did not do that. So chances are this thing was going to go to scrap. This was saved from scrap. So those folks who seem to think that I get every single deal in the northeast of the United States, that's not true. Anyway, I want to thank you all for dropping by to watch and comment and subscribe. Please remember to keep your feet down, your heads up, and remember to get out there and enjoy each and every day. Bye now.